Hey guys, so you might know that I'm working on growing some cacao trees in my garden, but I wanted to show you a coffee substitute that I'm experimenting with. It is a cacao drink. Here's your product placement for you. So this is this is called Crio Bru. It's made the exact same way you would make coffee, and so the difference between cacao and coffee is it has almost no caffeine. It's going to have something called theobromine, and the difference is going to be it's going to have similar effects to caffeine and coffee, but it's going to be not as in your face, not as intense, and it's going to have like a bit of a longer lasting and more gentle effect and be less addicting. So I have been liking this as a coffee substitute for the last little while. I need to get another bag here. I'm running out. But essentially it tastes like chocolate. So it's not sweet. So if you're thinking sweet like chocolate, that's not it. It's got the flavor of chocolate, like if you've ever had dark chocolate. Think dark chocolate, but then no sweetness. So if you've had like pure cacao nibs, that's kind of what this is like. However, this does not taste stale like you might get a taste from with store-bought cacao nibs. Like this tastes very fresh. It's totally different. And almost a fruity quality to it. Let me show you. So, like I was saying, the brewing method is exactly the same. However, the cleaning method is slightly different. It might take you like another 30 seconds or so to clean a filter. So if you've got a, coffee maker like me, then you would take your filter and I like to dump it in my compost, but with this, the cacao is more sticky and kind of sticks to the filter. So I can't really I can try to shake some of it into my compost and then clean off the rest, but I'm really going to have to, especially if I leave this for a day or so, it's going to be all caked on, whereas coffee grounds can become rather dry and they can come off very easily in the cleaning process. Just something to think about, so you're not thrown for a loop if you try this. But this company has, so this is a light roast, because I generally prefer light and medium roasts with coffee, so that's where I figured I would start with this. They do have a dark roast as well, which I may try. I'm just not a big fan of dark roasts in coffee, so I wasn't sure that I would like it with cacao. But they are so different that I think it's probably worth a shot. I don't even feel like I need to add anything to this. It tastes amazing. Like it's like a chocolate drink that doesn't punch me in the face like coffee does. Like I have very little tolerance for coffee these days, but I do like this a lot. Here's what it says on the back. 0 sugar, less caffeine than decaf coffee. And then it says 358 milligrams of theobromine. And my hope is that as I grow more of these trees in my garden, I'll be able to make my own home-brewed version of this. My plan is to make some cacao drinks and some chocolate at home. It's going to be quite a few years before they'll be producing, but that's the lofty goal someday. So anyway, that's this product. I kind of like it. So yeah. So I wanted to add a little part 2 to this here at the end, because the price point for the Crio Bru can be a little steep depending on where you buy it, and it's not available in a lot of places yet, as far as I can see. So what I've been experimenting with is just cocoa powder to see if I can get similar results with just a powder, because this is slightly cheaper in terms of price. And as with anything, the product you use does matter. So I have other stuff, other cocoa powders here, but I picked up this one, and I have done some experimenting with this, and there is a similar flavor profile between this, the powder, and the Crio Bru, which is, like small chunks of cocoa beans. But this is where the differences come in. Firstly, again, you're basically just making hot cocoa. However, when you use a powder, you're adding a lot of like silt and texture to the drink. But when you're using the Crio Bru itself, you're making it in a similar way that you would coffee, and you're basically just straining the liquid through it, and you're not going to have any of that excess texture in it that you would when you use the powder. So I've tried to up my hot cocoa game, you could say. I've graduated from using a fork to using the small whisk to break up the powder. However, the texture is still pretty present here, and maybe I just need to experiment further and up my hot cocoa game some more. But the texture is something I can't really get past at this stage. The flavor profile, again, is kind of similar. If you get like a more quality product, which it's pretty good. I'm not going to say this is the best, but this one has been alright tasting. But that said, if you're fine with like it being kind of textury, then maybe you just want to go for a cocoa powder. But if you want it to be like really smooth and you don't want any of that texture, then the Crio Bru is pretty good. And you just have that flavor. You don't have any of this extra grittiness coming into play. That said, if you want to add other things like creamers or whatever, then that's probably going to cut down on possible textures. But for me, I liked the Crio Bru as it was, and I didn't feel the need to add anything to it. But when it comes to using a powder, maybe I want to add some creamers or what have you. So I just wanted to add that at the end in case, like me, you aren't totally convinced by the Crio Bru's price point. But, some coffees are pretty expensive too, so it is what it is, I suppose. But this is another idea out there if you want to explore other possibilities.